On Tuesday, July 29th, at around 11 p.m., I called an ambulance. Rod had been throwing up blood, and I couldn't get him to the car. So the ambulance came and took us to Hickman Hospital. We had a great doctor. Her name was Dr. Miller, and we had seen her before, and she told us things were looking really critical. He was bleeding internally, and that his liver from the pancreatic cancer pretty much no longer existed. It was just a big tumor, and they were going to do what they could there, and they gave him some good pain meds, and then they made arrangements for him to go to Toledo Hospital to try to meet with a surgeon who might be able to help. So around 5 o'clock in the morning, they were going to life flight him, but they couldn't because of the fog. So we got an ambulance. Before we got in the ambulance, I had to sign a DNR. So I did that, and we got to Toledo Hospital around 6. Shortly after that, probably around 7 or 8, I met with, not even that late, I don't think, I met with the surgeon. And they said it was inoperable because he was bleeding too much. They had given him blood and it was just too much. And Adrian, they'd given him blood and it wasn't enough. And let me back up. Max was with me and Adrian at Hickman, but Raylan was at camp. And so when we found out things were gonna not be good, I tried to call camp. No one answered the phone. So Max said, we're gonna call 911. So we called 911, and the state police went to Matt Raylan's camp, and they brought her to us. The camp counselor felt really bad, and I appreciate that, and that's fine. It's all good. Raylan made it to us. So Raylan and Max were with us, and then they went home, while Lynn and Ross and Kara and I went with Rod to Toledo, and that's where we found out that they couldn't help. We spent the day waiting for hospice nurse to come. She came around 2 o'clock. And we made arrangements to go to Hospice House in Adrian, where Rod could be made comfortable. While we waited, Max and Raylan then came back to the hospital, and they brought a craft project. So we did handprints. So we have Rod's handprints and our handprints. And then the hospice ambulance was supposed to come at 7. It didn't get there until 8. But they wouldn't give Rod any more pain medication, and he was in a lot of pain. So then the ambulance drivers got him all loaded, and I was riding with them. And then she was a new driver, and she didn't know where she was going, and she went the wrong direction. And I yelled a lot in the ambulance, and Rod was still very calm and smiled the whole time. And he said, "It's okay, Karma, we'll be fine, we'll get there." We finally got to Hospice House in Adrian at around 10 o'clock. Well, by 9:30, and they had him finally all settled around 10 o'clock. Everyone went home except me. I stayed. And then Max came back later. Hospice House was amazing. The nurses were fabulous. The nursing staff was great, but Rod was in a lot of pain. So he was just thrashing, and he was so uncomfortable. And then he didn't know. By the time he finally got medications enough, he didn't know I was there verbally. He may have felt my presence, but he didn't answer me. He was just very uncomfortable. The nurse asked me if he was hot. I said, no, he's not hot. He's uncomfortable. And so that was around 1 o'clock in the morning. She checked on him every hour, and at 3 o'clock when she checked, he was gone. And that was July 31st at 3 a.m. So Max and I were with him, and then we called everybody. Ross and Kara brought over candy so she could say goodbye, and Lynn and Amy brought Raylan back so she could say goodbye. And I got his ring, and then they came and they took him to the funeral home, and that's when I had to face this alone. So, I'm telling you, because they say prostate cancer is not a big deal. It can metastasize and it can turn into other things. And then the pancreatic cancer came. He made it 4 months. He made it 4 months with pancreatic cancer. And we tried to do all the things. We went out to dinner. And the Monday night before he passed, we went to Theology on Tap with our church group. And he had a beer. And that's what we did because he wanted to go. And then yesterday, on August 6th, we had his funeral. And I did his eulogy. And today's my birthday. And it sucks. Although everyone has tried very hard to make it better. And I appreciate that. So, that's our story here at the end. But not forgotten. I love you, Rod, so much. For 1,000 years.